No, and I love that you brought up the point that hard work does not necessarily equal success when it comes to, well, anything on the internet.
Yeah.
I remember one that happened recently was we help represent a farmer's insurance agent, and our big thing is that he's the biggest farmer's insurance agent in Washington. So it's a pretty big claim. We make a bunch of videos for him, and they do well. They do respectable. It's a modest following because it's still growing. But I remember there was one short. Wasn't a special short, but it was the one short that kind of got a little bit viral. Got like 250,000 views. Wonderful. What's it about? Oh, he's talking about something controversial in insurance, and everyone's just hating on him. He's getting like death threats and all this. So very funny from an outside perspective. But I'm looking at this as a producer, and I'm going, that one? You tell me that was the one that got in? Didn't have an especially interesting hook as far as I could tell, but I don't, maybe it did. Maybe the algorithm works in mysterious ways. At the end of the day, sometimes you just got to throw your hands in the air and say, I don't know.
Yeah. Sometimes being the most human online oftentimes is what works because we're all human, you know? And that's why I don't take it too seriously yet. It's very serious. Like
Yes.
it's very serious.
It's
you
business.
know? Yeah. But I think just having a life of, working with people and meeting people throughout the different stages in their business, I think it's amazing to see so many business owners grasp sort of building their business online or becoming personalities in their cities or, starting new ventures or even just documenting their journey, which I feel like all of us should do. Because that's just a really great way of something for you to look back on and to see like, okay, this is where I was like 30 days ago or however much you want to challenge yourself. Like people love to follow a good like challenge series or, I'm going to go do something and be the human guinea pig and everybody watch. Like, I think that's kind of like the fun element of the internet is just seeing people like go for it and like everybody's sharing them on in the comments. Like that's really cool. That's what the internet's for.
That's the thing. I know there's this attitude that I've heard from a number of folks that, they're talking about millennials, they're talking about young folks, and that they don't like to be advertised to. They're too cynical. It's hard to bring them into the workforce, hard to sell to them. Varying degrees of validity and all of that. But one of the things that people miss is that young people love to be advertised to. Everyone loves to be advertised to, but it just changes how they want to be advertised to. For young folks especially, and we see this with the rise of social media and how the trends have kind of formed, it's that people like stories.
Yeah.
People love that authentic feel, even if it's not actually authentic, but it's got the authentic look. It's got the effective feel. That's why user-generated content, which are just commercials that people are filming on their iPhones, do so well these days. It's not because they're especially well-produced. It's not because they have a better message than anything else. It's the fact that it's a story. It's about experience.
Yeah, that is very much why I love YouTube, is that it is very story-based. I go there to listen to other people's story. And even applying like that storytelling to selling a service, working with Shada Bahrami at Meza Seattle, what's really the most interesting thing is that there are a lot of stories that can be told about food. There's also ways of showcasing food so that it's also appealing aesthetically, but also helping people understand about the services that this business offers. And so you have things where it's like, I think the biggest challenge when consulting the founder is how do you make content so it doesn't borrow too much of the founder's time?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where I would love to just have, a whole week where she can just tell stories and like we document it in the kitchen and cook and all these like amazing things that can be done. But it's like, okay, then what? Like you have all this footage, you have all these stories, you have all this content. Well, how do you actually put a strategy to it? And I think that is something that through my experience, there isn't like one strategy that works. It's just being consistent. Like it's literally just posting, even if you feel it's bad or you feel like it's not like the quality you're going for. It's just posting because you never know what's going to be the thing that just either gets you the right attention or helps you meet the next person who's going to help you. And I think that's, if I could do anything different with like my own career, it's just post more, document more, share more. And I mean, I'm already online for business, so the thought of posting even more is just a little too much. So I've definitely had to find my balance in my own personal brand building and then the work that I do professionally. And I feel like now I'm at a new stage in like my career and my life where it's like now I have like a story to tell. And I think that's like just a reminder to people, like, you know, don't let the internet rush you. Like, it is always going to be there. So if you need to, you know, focus on another business or focus on a skill that you want to learn, like, take that time, because that is so much more important than to try to, you know, constantly feel like you got to entertain or constantly feel like you have to show the next big thing, when really it could be just sitting and waiting and thinking and reflecting on like, all right, I tried to do this and I tried to talk about, you know, this industry that didn't really, it worked. Like, yeah, because I was talking about like, I had like tech and crypto and like, you know, talking about topics that were very like, yeah, some people were into it, but not like the big mass appeal. And I do think that there was a lot that I learned very quickly when working in blockchain that, you know, I'll carry with me for like forever, as far as like how to build a community, how to build hype, how to like educate people and get people to buy in like that. I learned that very quickly on like things that are very finance related, which, you know, the top three, I guess, categories in content are like, you know, health, wealth, and finance. Like any of those, like, people are always going to want to consume. But getting back to like, you know, not letting the internet rush you, I think part of building a personal brand is that it is personal. So if sharing stories about your journey is not something you're into, good luck trying to build a personal brand. But I think that's kind of where you're seeing a lot more people be more transparent and document their story, or they're really diving into like the whole cinematography of making content. I think that's where you're really going to start seeing like, and people have always been saying this, like YouTube is the new TV. Yeah. I very much believe that, because even now, like being able to film this whole show, it's like, you know, you would have to wait years to get picked up by a broadcast station. Now it's like you can invest in your own production and actually go film it. At this point, I'm like, why not anybody try to do that? Whether it's you starting with your iPhone in front of a big window versus like investing in the gear. Now's the time to do it. Like this is the time to experiment with it, and you never know where it could go. And I think that's probably the biggest thing to coach people through, is like that experience of like, how do you take on that risk of like making content and see a reward, or at least understand what should you be measuring at the stage that you're at. And that's where like, you know, consulting people really helps them put it in a realistic way for them, which, you know, I feel like every day I log on social media, it's like I'm watching everybody who is really great at their job, like excel and like get all the A+, get all the extra credit. And I'm like, here I am just like, all right, I'm just going to post today and like see where it goes. But I think that's the fun thing, is that there's so many scales of people that have different skill level at this, that it's pretty much like you can get better. You can improve if this is something you really want to do.
I don't think I ever feel worse about myself than when I see other like real substantial videography crews going out to shoot and they have all this amazing equipment. I'm like, man, I can't do that yet.
Yeah. It can get it to you sometimes, but I think the biggest thing that I have really focused on now is like getting really good at iPhone cinematography and just like maxing out how much my iPhone can do before I buy that next piece of gear. Cause I used to have shelves of camera gear and like all this like stuff when it came to production. Yet I realized that a lot of people were hiring me to do iPhone photography or iPhone videography. I even shot with like a film camera for a while. So it's like all this high tech that I had, it really started where it was just like my friends were just hiring me to film like them running their businesses. And so after a while I realized, I was like, what if I just were to offer like iPhone videography for people, or hey, I want to come hang out with you while you're working and like film you doing this so you can tell that story of what you do. And so really looking at like iPhones is a great place to start. I mean, the best camera is the one you always have on you. So I mean, a lot of people I think could get started with like their iPhone and just get comfortable talking to the camera. Like that is the first skill. So I should say no amount of camera gear is going to like outperform that. Like you have to get good at talking on camera. So, I think that too, I've realized is that some people are really good in like A, B conversations. So like the podcast style versus some people are really good at just camera in the room by themselves, just talking. So I think really helping people kind of find like where they feel the most themselves talking, you can always improve past that. So,
Yeah, it's a real skill when they can just talk to the camera.
Yeah, and that takes practice.
It
Like
does.
oh gosh, I have so much like footage of me when I first got started that will never be released or is hidden somewhere on my hard drive. But it reminds me that this is a skill.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I am thankful that I have this skill. I see that other people, reward me and pay me to do this and talk on camera or like help them get good on camera. But I always remind people that feel intimidated by it or they're like, oh, I'm not a public speaker or like, oh, I could never like do that. I just remind them like, I didn't think I could do this either. I simply just saw someone else doing it that I admired and liked what they had to say and just kept practicing and kept being really bad for a while until finally I was better. And then someone's like, hey, can you come do that here?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like keeping life simple is like, just do the thing that you want to be doing and keep doing it until you actually get better where people start inviting you places or wanting you to help or like paying you to do it. And then that's when it works. Like it doesn't need to be you don't, I just say you don't have to spend that much time having it not work. If you're struggling with making content, talk to a consultant. If you're trying to get better at being on camera, go to a local acting school. Like there's so many resources to help you be comfortable with speaking. Like it's amazing now. Like it's now like the skill that everybody wants to get better at communicating and speaking, which is honestly great. I love that. I love that people are trying to get better at communicating, which is inherently also very complex. But I'm glad that people are like, how do I take all of my thoughts and years of experience and put it in a 15-second reel or put it on a 30-minute video? And I think that's like really impressive to be a part of right now.
Yeah, I remember Winston Churchill. I can't remember the exact quote, but it was to that effect, where if there was one skill that's absolutely critical, it's effectively charisma. It's how you talk to people. It's the way that you communicate to them to the point where you can insult them and they walk away pleased.
Yeah, that's it is a skill to develop. And like, I also think too that outside of developing that skill, you also need to be in the right environment. And I definitely can look back on like all the either different businesses that I've tried, all the different industries that I tried to be in, and just like cringe at some point to be like, oh man, I was so awkward. I was so shy or like, man, I really didn't know how to like learn that fast enough to like execute on it. And it's good to know where your limits are when it comes to like, I guess, skill building.
Yeah.
But I think the best part is that now having this like chef apprenticeship and like cooking and like entertaining folks and like hosting the events, it really just aligns with like every single thing I've learned like in the past, which is just amazing to think about on, how to sustain a content creator business. It's like outside of making content, I realized that I also needed like something else to like anchor why I'm making content. Cause for a while I was just consulting people on like very meta and like, here's how to make a video. And I'm online making content, making a video. And after a while I was like, this is too much. I need to like get back to like the people side, like actually helping people, bringing people together, hosting community, building community. Cause that's the whole point that's the whole reason why I started to be online was to find community. And then eventually it made its way into the real world of like actually being in a city to build a community. So,
I can make money off this.
Yeah. That too. Community or memberships are like a really, they're very much a very good business model. And I think there was I'm trying to think of a book that I read. I'll think of it. I'll talk about or bring up like books and stuff if you have any questions about that. But like, there's definitely a few books out there. I think it's I should say, I know it's the topic about Netflix. Like it's about I forget the title of the book, but there's a book about Netflix and it talks about how the membership model was developed. And it's a really great book because it talks about how memberships are a business model and how to build them successfully. And like Netflix is one of the biggest subscription like model, even though it's not like a social network, it's a huge subscription model. And so it's, it's about the term forever purchase. And, I hope that is something that content, as it evolves people's businesses, that they do find their forever purchase, or they find their evergreen content that they know that they can make this content, they can run an ad behind it, or just talk about this topic, and it just continually grows their business. So, that's a sweet spot for a consultant to help somebody find that.
No, absolutely.